Ethan did not decide to change his life on a dramatic day. There was no loud failure, no public embarrassment, no moment that demanded attention from the world. His decision came quietly on an ordinary evening while sitting on the edge of his bed, holding a pair of worn out running shoes and staring at the floor as the distant noise of the city drifted through his open window. That night, he was not angry or inspired. He was simply tired of feeling stuck in the same place while time kept moving forward without him. At 16, had already learned something painful. Wanting something badly did not automatically bring it closer. He had dreams, like many boys of his age, but they often felt distant and unrealistic, especially when compared to the confidence and talent of others around him. He was known as quiet, average, and forgettable. In sports, he was never chosen first. In class, his name really stood out. And yet, deep inside, he carried a simple but powerful desire to prove to himself that he could commit to something long enough to see it through. The goal he chose was not grand in the eyes of the world. He did not dream of medals or fame. His goals were specific and measurable to qualify for the regional school athletes race. Only three students would make it. He had competed once before, but the memory stayed with him. He remembered starting with hope, adrenaline rushing through his body, convinced effort alone would be enough, until one by one runners passed him and the crowd slowly turned away. By the time he crossed finish line, he stood alone, pretending to just adjust the shoes so no one would see disappointment on his face. That memory did not break him. It followed him home. It followed him home, settled quietly in his thoughts, and returned to him that night as he sat holding those shoes. That was when Ethan made a decision, not fueled by motivation, but by resolve. He promised himself that he would train every day, not endlessly or perfectly, but consistently. 30 minutes a day, no excuses. The first morning was uncomfortable. The air was cold, the sky still dim. As he stepped out, his body resisting every moment, as he began to run slowly down an empty street. Nothing magical happened. He finished tired, unimpressed, and uncertain, but he had kept his promise for one day. Then came the second day and the third. At first, he waited for motivation to arrive, for running to feel easy. It never did. Some mornings were manageable, others miserable, but he ran anyway. Weeks passed and life continued around him. School assignments piled up, friends chased distractions, other students trained intensely for a while, then slowly disappeared. Ethan noticed but said nothing. He returned to the same road each morning, repeating the same routine in silence. The hardest part was not the running, it was the waiting. The effort felt invisible. Improvement came slowly, if at all. Doubt whispered questions he struggled to silence. One evening, exhausted, he sat on the curb near the field, wondering if consistency was enough or if he was simply wasting time. As he stood to leave, he noticed something small but undeniable. The path he ran every day had changed. Grass was worn down, dirt exposed beneath his repeated footsteps. In that moment, he understood something powerful. Progress often hides until it becomes unavoidable. Consistency does not announce itself, it reveals itself slowly. With renewed resolve, he continued. As the trials approached, pressure grew. The school buzzed with competition and excitement, but Ethan stayed faithful to his routine. 2 weeks before the trials, his timing was still not enough. That night, doubt returned heavier than before as he lay staring the ceiling, exhaustion settling deep within him. The next morning, the alarm rang. He hesitated, then stood up, put on his shoes, and went outside, not because he felt confident, but because consistency had become who he was. Trial day arrived. The track was crowded, loud, and overwhelming. Ethan stood among runners who looked stronger and more certain. As the starting line, his heart pounded. He reminded himself to run the way he trained. When the race began, he did not sprint or panic. He ran steadily, each step familiar from months of repetition. The final stretch burned. Two runners ahead, one behind. He focused on rhythm, not fear. He crossed the finish line and collapsed onto the grass, unsure of the result. Moments later, the board updated. His name appeared, third place, qualified. He did not shout, he smiled quietly, understanding that the victory was not the race, but every unseen day that led to it. As I tell this story, I realize how often we wait for motivation instead of trusting consistency. Ethan's journey reminds me that progress is usually quiet, but it is always real. If your effort feels invisible, if progress feels slow, keep showing up one day, quietly and without warning. The results will speak for themselves because consistency always keeps score.